Hello YouTube, this is Bowtied Media, and today I have a review of Major Lazer's album, Music is the Weapon. Major Lazer is back with their fourth studio album and with some different members. After Jillionaire left in 2019, Ape Drums took over his spot in the trio, joining Diplo and Walshy Fire to create Major Lazer for the fourth technical iteration. Since Major Lazer has been around, they have tried to produce music for commercial success. Music that is more poppy, radio-friendly tracks, other than, their first album. But this one is no exception. Music is the Weapon, and they always kind of flow into the basic pop radio cycles for music at the time. And by that I mean in the current cycle of radio pop electronic music, I think Latin music or reggaeton has really become bigger than it has ever before. And I think Major Lazer has taken that and run with it and created a lot more music in that kind of style. But this current state of popular electronic music is perfect for them because back to their roots, Major Lazer was pretty much inspired and based off of reggae music. And now that reggaeton is one of the highest and most dominant subgenres of the music industry, I think Major Lazer is in a perfect spot to create an album. So much so that the last 4 tracks on this album are actually non-English reggaeton stylistic songs. And I'll get into that more later. A big thing to note about this album and each of the individual tracks is that it is made for pop music. It is made to be radio music. It's made to be played in the car and not really listened to and critiqued, arguably like I'm doing right now. And with a product of that, the songs are very, very short. The longest song being only 3 minutes and 22 seconds, and the shortest being 2 minutes and 25 seconds, which is the first track, Hell and High Water. I think Hell and High Water is the perfect track to really explain and use a singular track to kind of encompass the entire project and what the goal is. It is a really short track that has made for radio, like I've talked about a ton, only 4 bars in the drop and 8 on the last, and it's a copy paste and then copied. And it's just not a ton really going for it. It's not a bad thing to make music for the commercial masses and commercial appeal, but often the songs feel like they're more lackluster. They're being super, super safe, and there's no real creative juices happening in any section of the song. I actually think this album compares a lot to their last album in 2015, Peace is the Mission. And the album title sounds similar, Peace is the Mission, Music is the Weapon. Kind of similar-ish idea, and I don't know if it's going to be a trio of albums, who knows exactly what it's going to be. But a lot of the albums follow similar kind of narrative and track lists of what happens throughout the album and where it goes tonally. And I think it's really important to compare this first song, Hell and High Water, to Be Together, the first track of their last album, Peace is the Mission. Be Together is almost 4 minutes long and has a lot more oomph to it, has a lot more drive and feel, and it just feels like a substantially better song. Hell and High Water almost feels like a rip-off version of Be Together. And the next 3 tracks, Sun Comes Up, Bam Bam, and Tiny, are not great either. They're 3 of the 4 non-singles that were coming up before the album actually got released. And again, they just feel lackluster and boring. Both Sun Comes Up and Bam Bam are somehow crazy repetitive for only being about 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes each. It is crazy how in that small time frame, 3 minutes, the song can feel super repetitive. Although Bam Bam is a little bit more unique, and the Moomba drop is, it's kind of nice, but the vocals during that drop are really unnecessary and quite annoying. Tiny definitely feels like a classic Major Lazer track, and the music quality, like the actual sound quality, feels like it dropped a tone. It almost feels like you're listening from a WAV to an MP3, and it's weird. Even though I didn't like Bam Bam, really at all, the quality sounds a lot better than it does on Tiny, and I'm not sure entirely why that is. I think it's important to note that while I stand here and kind of critique the songs, it is really important to recognize that these songs are meant to be played in a club or festival. I mean, they are dance hall or reggaeton, and the idea is that they're played for masses with a ton of people all dancing and bopping together. And while I can listen to it here and enjoy it and critique it and that kind of stuff, just because a track or album as a whole is made to be that kind of genre or style, it doesn't mean they can cut corners and make the tracks not very good. Take Daft Punk's Discovery, for example, and it's a sort of poor comparison, but the idea that Daft Punk made music for the masses, for the dances, for the clubs, for the festivals, and still made solid quality music for the time is not what Major Lazer's doing here. Oh My God is easily the worst track on this album. The vocals are so annoying, and they have this raw production editing style to them that just makes it feel like wet and also like it stings a little bit, and it's just awful. And the backing track is also not great, and I don't understand where the song even was trying to go. The best part of it is actually Nicki Minaj. I don't love Nicki Minaj style, but her verse is actually pretty fire compared to this track, and flows quite well compared to the rest of the song. It just feels like it's a jumbled mess. Trigger is not that bad, and it's quite chill, and it really relies on Khalid's style of vocal delivery and how his tracks normally are, and I think the production style is based a lot more on Khalid than it is on anything Major Lazer produces themselves. I would actually say it's the most unique cut of anything on the project, but the one thing I really don't understand is the lyrics in the chorus. If our love is a drug, you're the one with the trigger. I don't understand. I can't grasp that. You're comparing love as a drug, and then you're one with the trigger, so there's guns, and there's drugs, and where is the... if our love is a drug, what does that mean? Why is there a gun involved now? I don't understand. If it was something like our love is a drug and you're the trigger, like triggering something inside your head or something, that makes a lot more sense. But the one with the trigger, I don't quite understand. I feel like they're just using basic kind of words that people know and talk about relational kind of stuff, and they're like, yeah, it'll work. I do think the one big thing that Major Lazer struggles with the most is their lyrical content, and I mean, it's made for the masses, it's made for commercial success, like I've talked about 100 times now, and so the lyrics are super shallow. Like, there's not much depth to them, and there really isn't this big grander narrative or meaning behind each of the songs. The last 4 tracks is actually really interesting. Major Lazer kind of hits a big bump of cultural diversity by creating 4 songs that are not English. And while this isn't a new idea, I'm not praising them for the idea that they're making non-English music. I just think that in the current state of pop music and where the culture of electronic and / commercial success music is going, I think it's a great idea to include 4 tracks that aren't in English. I think it's a brilliant move for Major Lazer, and considering that most of their audience is actually in non-primary English-speaking states, I think this is brilliant for them. I myself feel like sometimes I get sucked into the idea that music is just English, like it's just for me and what I know. As a Canadian who only speaks English, it's often to fall into that trap, and so it's a nice reminder that there's so much more music out there that I get to explore. But yeah, these last tracks have a variety of Portuguese, Hindi, and Spanish. And while I think these 4 songs were a great idea to include, Rave To Favela, sorry my pronunciation on these things, is awful. It is a clear-cut, basic dancehall track with an absolutely lifeless drop. It feels like a song that stuck in 2011, and I just don't understand why it was even created. But I think the last 3 tracks on the album are actually pretty unique, and they do a good job of maintaining some stylistic choices and integrity while not being your kind of basic trap or reggaeton music. While a pretty simple track lyrically, Jotty Booty is quite good for Major Lazer currently. The style of production actually matches more of what Piece of the Mission was like, and something about this drop just feels like it's got a lot more layers and depth to it than anything else on this project. It's a great cut, and the layered vocals and sounds and Moomba drop are actually really, really good. And I have to mention those quick string hits. Those are absolutely beautiful. And while I don't love Que Calor, it is a banger of a club track that I'm sure I would go hard for in the right setting. From the little I know of popular reggaeton music, I know that Que Calor is a massive hit that hits all of the right notes in all the right areas. And part of that is its short song length. And while I don't personally love it, I get that it makes sense for the track. Overall, I think Major Lazer's musical direction with this project is covered in mud and lost frequently. That means that while there are some good tracks on here, not fantastic tracks, just good, maybe some even little great, you have to trudge through the awful mud of the bad tracks. I praise Major Lazer for taking a more direct swing at adding some cultural diversity to their tracks by not creating stuff that's just English. And some of those are actually some of the best cuts off the project. This is far from Major Lazer's best stuff that they've ever put out. And considering how good commercial success has been to them, I don't think we will ever see top-notch Major Lazer again. Major Lazer's Music is the Weapon scores a 5. But thank you guys so much for watching. I have been Bowtied Media. If you have any comments or anything, if you disagree or really agree with what I've said, leave them in the comments below. Leave a like if you liked, and if you disliked, I don't know, leave an actual dislike and let me know why in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let me know what other music you guys want me to listen and or review. I will see you guys in another video.